Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at a 4-game slate on Tuesday night after a bunch of games on MLK Day. Hopefully you enjoyed those matchups. I think we're actually going to enjoy a couple of these matchups on this small slate as well. In this one, Denver is playing host to Portland. We'll take a look at that one with a pretty high total in it. Also have another game video and our player props up for you as we do each and every weekday, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where you can find all this stuff in written form, and you can use that odds finder tool that we have. That's where we show you what all of those U.S. sports books are offering you guys in the NBA this season, so you can get the best odds available to you. Nate, let's go ahead and run through this 4-game slate and then talk Nuggies and Blazers.
Yeah, first one up is the Raptors +6 at the Bucks, and they're kind of waiting on the total or the line there because both teams will be on a back-to-back. Giannis didn't play on MLK Day. We'll see if the Raptors have to rest anybody after playing into overtime with the Knicks. Then you have the Nets -6 at the Spurs. They started out 0-2 without Mr. Durant. Going to be tough sledding for that offense, but the total's still at 235 because the Spurs are involved there. So stay tuned to that one for player props. The nightcap is the Sixers and a pick'em at the Clippers. Paul George is questionable. That could sway things one way or the other, but we break that one down for you in a separate video. And then Blazers +7.5 at Denver with a 233 total. Denver going for a 14th straight home win here. Portland, third game in 4 nights, so slight rest disadvantage. And they did manage to snap their 5-game skid with really impressive offensive showings against Dallas, but consecutive nights at home against Dallas, a barrage of 3-pointers, 138 points. I'm not really reading into that too much. I mean, first of all, I want to believe that Portland's getting back to their elite offensive ways. I am such a big Damian Lillard fan and Anthony Simons as well, but I don't. I think they're just regressing to the mean in terms of being an okay team, just not elite. Not elite offensively and worse offensively on the road. 112 rating versus 120, scoring just 108 on the road versus 120 at home. And the pace is slower, and they're 16-8 to the under on the road, including 6 straight road games in which they had a pretty low assist rate. They're already average in terms of assist rate because it is a lot of Damon and Simons getting their own shot. So, I mean, Denver's biggest weakness is giving up assists at home, getting into those kind of shootouts where another team is able to match the Joker's incredible assist to field goal ratio as a team effort of some sort. But they are 6th in defensive efficiency overall at home, though, and 5th in 3-point defense. And so that's where I think Portland might struggle. Of course, this is the 4th meeting here between division rivals. They smacked the Nuggets early in the season when things were still pretty wonky, and then lost by 13 in Denver the last meeting. Simon struggled. Dame did not. Dame has been on fire in his last 5, and he's been on fire against Denver this season, averaging 35 a game. So it's just like that's why we got close to this 233 total the last time, which was 227, the final. I mean, and it's with a superhuman effort from Dame. So it's like if you look at it that way, it's like even if Dame continues to do what he's been doing, like 50 against Cleveland, 38 is what he's averaging in the last 5 years, shooting 53% from the floor. He can maybe continue that, but even if he does, like I don't know who else from Portland is going to match the Nuggets and score close to 120, which is what they do at home. But I will say, while Nurkic fouled out in that last meeting, and he hasn't exactly shut down the Joker, holding him to a 128 offensive rating this season is actually a massive accomplishment. In his last 10 home games, Jokic has a 141 offensive rating and is plus 140. He's actually minus 10 against Portland in those 3 meetings this season. Denver does slightly go under when they're home. Especially when they're home favorites. And while, you've got guys like Jamal Murray and Porter Jr. who might struggle defensively. I raised my hand when you said Embiid, best two-way center in the game for sure, because Joker, 101 defensive rating in his last five. Somehow, some way, he just keeps everybody connected on both ends. He skyrocketed to plus 170 as the MVP favorite again. Just an amazing talent. But, I mean, that is all to say, I like the under more than anything. I'm a little too scared to just assume Denver's going to continue to roll everybody who comes to their house. I think Portland is the type of team to surprise you and make this kind of a trap and cover 7. So I think, what I want to look for, though, is that these two teams that know each other really well, at least one of them coming up short offensively because the other one's getting in their jersey so well.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of good stuff in there. I think to talk about, I guess, what like best bet for you, preferring that maybe the under because of the fact, like you're saying, like these teams kind of know each other enough at this point that they can at least defend that and prepare for it a little bit better. Is that probably the preferred bet by you?
Yeah, and I do worry that Portland's going to score under 110, and then I don't think you're getting over if that happens.
In which case, yeah, it also seems like leaning towards Denver, winning by at least a decent margin, enough to maybe cover to the 7 that it is right now, that you can get it at. If you want to bet Denver, you can find it at 7. I know we talked about 7.5 being that spread there, but you can find it a little bit better if you want it. I do want that, to be honest. Like I'm not really scared of these big totals. I think I told you, you were mentioning that it's possible that there's a little bit of a recession coming, or back to the mean for regression for Denver at home. They just only barely beat the Magic by the skin of their teeth. Needed that last second 3 from Joker to pull that one out. Obviously failed to cover the 11 points. I call the Magic being able to cover that on a Saturday Saturday where things are just. Or I'm sorry, it was a Sunday. MLK Day threw me off. On Sunday, it's a weekend. Things are weird. Saturday, Sunday games are always weird in the NBA, and 11 points was a lot for a Magic team that was, definitely catching stride by having enough players back from, some suspensions and injuries to be back to themselves, and Wendell Carter Jr. playing really, really well as well. And the Nuggets did not take them seriously, and that's why that game was what it was. But I do see them. I don't think that Portland can get through that, under the radar like that for them. You're talking about the last few matchups for them since they've already played 3 times this season at this point, and the last one for the Blazers being, the last 2 obviously being the loss that we don't really know what to make of, the game on the 24th of October that they played like 5 games into the start of the season, or 5 days into the start of the season. But I think you can rely on Denver to get that pretty much close to that 120, if not over, at home. It's just pretty much clockwork. Even when they were playing the Clips the other night without Joker, like you were saying, still felt good about them doubling down on them because of the fact that they have such a great supporting cast. And even when Joker's not out there to play with those guys that are just so perfectly suited, like Bruce Brown and KCP, that they added to play around him, they're also super well suited to play alongside a guy like Jamal Murray, who has been finding his own as well and finding consistency over the last 4 by averaging 24 a game in that time frame with about 7 assists, and really taking over as like the point guard on this team, who is obviously happy to let Joker do his thing from everywhere else. So Joker having one more game under his belt after missing a game before that Magic game, I think is really helpful as well in this one. I love watching he and Nurk go to battle against each other. In the last 4 games that they played against each other, Joker is looking at 23 and 9 assists and 9 boards. But Nurk as well, 14 points and 9 rebounds in there as well with 4 assists, which is also really nice when they can play around him. But obviously also you talk about Dame and what he's done. That's, his resurgence over the course of the last 3, including that 50 burger, is a huge, if not the reason that this total stays at about 233, and that bookmakers seem to think that Dame can bring this team along for the ride in that total. But even if he can, like if this becomes an offensive outburst, I still prefer Portland or Denver to a large degree. I agree with your really opening statements that I think the Blazers you and I specifically overvalued them a bit at the beginning of the season in what we thought they were going to be able to do as an offensive juggernaut. To your point, I mean, the stats that you see, the unassisted field goal percentage for this team is way too high. high for you to feel like it's continuously sustainable all over the place. And the fact that you know, I look at all these hustle stats for guys like Josh Hart and Jeremy Grant, and it's like there's just really no plays run for them. There's just go get the ball and then you can score once you have it. But that's pretty much it. As Jeremy Grant has actually been averaging a bunch of second chance points since Dame came back, you know, about a couple of weeks ago from a small injury. So I just don't like what I'm seeing from the Blazers anymore, which breaks my heart because I was really looking forward to them being a lot better. We love a lot of the players on their team, but I believe in Denver at home to that degree right now. And if they're going to get over 120, I feel pretty good about them covering 7 points.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I don't know if they are, and honestly, I think if it is an over, I would think Portland covers. I mean, I don't know. If you're truly saying they're going to come along for the ride, it's going to be a shootout. You know, maybe it's going to go down to the wire or overtime. Like plus 7.5 is better than expecting Denver to just continue rolling whoever comes into their building, right?
But to be clear, I don't think that. Like, yeah. I don't think they're coming along for the ride.
Well,
I think that 7 points is very fair.
One team's only going to score 108, one scores 120, and but anyway,
call it a day.
Yeah, you can take either side of this. The point is, I mean, these teams have not played with much pace in their 3 meetings this season. 95. You asked me if I think they're so familiar with each other. Really, it's Nurk and Jokic being so familiar with each other that it's like throwing a wrench in that well-oiled machine that is the Nuggets offense. And while they've still been able to maintain, both of them, an offensive rating over 122 in the meetings, the games have only averaged 237. They're slightly over. I think there's an opportunity for some regression. It's not a bet for the faint of heart here, though. I mean, we're talking 4 games here. If you want to bet on something in this game, that's something to throw out there. But I think we're more confident in the nightcap in the Sixers at the Clippers.
Yeah, and like you're saying, like this is a case of us trying to, getting to the early lines, and to be honest with you, not loving much outside of that Sixers game, and not having quite as much available for the other 2 games on the slate, and really not really wanting to touch the Nets and Spurs. To be honest, like the Bucks and Raptors we got to wait for. In this one, I think you can definitely look at some player stuff, which I think we are looking at a little bit in the player props. We just kind of, we don't necessarily go into any of these specific props, but like you and I were looking at unders for stuff in this one, like you were saying, in the way that we see this matchup going. So, and there's just a lot, the props just led us to go like, yeah, no, I don't see that from that guy and that guy, which is also just supporting evidence for, liking an under here. But either way, to be honest, I wouldn't hit an under with the Nuggets, but I prefer the Nuggets. And if I were to do that, it would be a money line and under, to your point. I do think that their defense is also just way, superior to this Portland defense right now. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us. Also check out our player props video that we have up for you tonight. And until we see you next, happy betting.